was the unforgettable reformed alcoholic Sue Ellen. Linda Gray is here with us. Linda Gray, the family Von Trapp, the Von Trapp family singers. There she is. He's back from the dead. He was filming an Irish Spring commercial apparently, and he is scrubbed clean. He played Bobby Ewing. Patrick Duffy is here. Well, only one other woman could compete with Bobby Ewing's heart, and she is with us, making her first appearance at one of these Dallas panels. I'm so excited. Priscilla Presley, who played Jenna Wade. All right, wow. He was doing some naughty things in the haystack with Lucy Ewing. Before they found out the surprise, he played Ray Krebs. Steve Kanaly is with us today. Someone who defined the word Spitfire. She played Lucy Ewing. Charlene Tilton is joining us today. How cool is this? How cool is this? I know you guys developed long-standing friendships, but when's the last time all 5 of you were together?
Last night in the men's room. We all help each other at this age. We all have to help each other.
When was it? It was a special event, I think, for somebody very special.
We were all together in Palm Springs. Yeah, in September. But
thanks for
without
inviting me.
You, she never answers the invitations.
It was a little late.
That must be true.
It was already over.
But it's been a long time since we've been together. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And Priscilla, Charlene, I think you mentioned the last time you guys saw each other was at a birthday party for Mr. Hagman. Is that correct? Is that?
Yes.
Oh, would you and Steve share? Or let's divide these up. I'm so sorry. Great, thank you guys. Thank you. Sorry.
Well, yes, the last time I saw beautiful Priscilla was at Larry's 81st birthday, and it was the last birthday we celebrated with him together. So that was quite memorable.
He always gave a great party.
Yes.
He was never there. No, I'm kidding.
Well, we have to acknowledge Mr. Hagman. He is here. I feel he's here. You feel he's here, Linda, don't you?
Always.
So,
Hi, Larry.
when you think of Larry Hagman, Patrick, what's the first thing that comes to mind? When you think of Larry?
The very first day that I met him.
Yeah.
We did the cold reading of the script in a little room in Warner Brothers. And of course, Larry came in with full Texas regalia hat, saddlebags across his shoulder, full of champagne. That was part of the memory. But the other part of the memory was when I shook his hand, we were introduced the first time I'd ever met him. And I went home later that day and I told my wife, I said, I think I met my best friend. It was true. It was absolutely true. There was just something about it that I went, oh, this is a person that I'm going to really get to know well. And it turned out to be true for 40 plus years. Yeah, that's my first memory.
Lynn, did you want to say something about your sweetheart, Larry?
My little sweetheart.
Yeah.
Well, that very day is the day, Patrick described perfectly. And I remember he looked down at me
he said, "Hello, darling." And I just kind of melted. It was just kind of like, oh. One of those moments. I was very embarrassed myself.
Now, JR had some other nicknames for Sue Ellen besides Darlin', I think, over the years, right?
And those other ones fun.
We won't say those. A family event yet today. Well, last night, I have so many favorites. We all have our favorite episodes. I watched one to prepare for today, and it was one that featured all of you quite prominently, and it was Swan Song. And I imagine when the script came out, Larry was not happy to lose you, Patrick, but you had decided to take a little break from yourself. So in this episode, Swan Song, which I think was a 90-minute episode, Lucy finally remarries Mitch, which I have been always rooting for, in a quick wedding in South Fork. Ray learned that Donna was pregnant, but would they stay together? It was kind of a mystery. Sue Ellen was back in the bottle. She was back in the bottle again. We'll talk about that. Jenna was heartbroken when she figured out that Bobby still had feelings for Pam.
Yeah, I'm still heartbroken.
I'm over it.
And look who's here now.
Just saying. There's always a second chance.
Bring it on.
And then in that episode, at the very end of that episode, Bobby died. Now in that scene, you weren't in that scene because you were passed out in the bed. But Patrick obviously was in that scene. Priscilla, you were in that scene at Bobby's deathbed. And Charlene, you were off on your honeymoon, but Steve, you were also there crying. What do you remember about filming Bobby's death scene?
I can start because it does involve you and Victoria. Leonard Katzman directed that episode. He was very clever. He put Victoria and Priscilla side by side by Bobby's deathbed. And Bobby looks in that direction and says, "We wasted so much time, and you never knew who he was actually speaking to." And I thought that was brilliant, because I knew who he was speaking to. I was speaking to Miss Ellie. No, but it was very cleverly done, and I remember that, and I thought, log that away, and just in terms of directing and misdirecting, so that the audience doesn't know, and it was basically creating a cliffhanger, and then Bobby died, but both of them then didn't know, who he was talking to. I thought that was brilliant, so I remember that scene, that part of that scene very well, very well.
So what do you remember about Bobby's deathbed scene? Bobby's deathbed scene when he was...
I was afraid that Victoria was going to get it before me. So, the time when she did, he died. So, I was left out. But we're together now.
And Steve, you shouted out, "Bobby," and all of you were reacting so sadly as the machine's going beep, beep, beep. Oh, Bobby, Miss Ellie, and Clayton. No one's calling a doctor.
I was sad just because he was leaving the show.
Yeah.
And, in that moment, you come to terms with the fact that, you can't stay in an ensemble forever. People are going to move on. But we were all so close, it was going to be a big, big gaping hole in our lives. So we missed him, but he couldn't stay away for very long.
So that was amazing. We got to talk about the dream season. We've heard about the Irish Spring commercial. Did that, in case you don't know, when they were filming Bobby's return from the dead in the shower, why don't you tell the story? Why am I telling the story? Tell us about the secret way they brought Bobby back.
Again, that was Leonard Katzman, and because it was a well-publicized return, they needed to keep a secret, and it was getting harder and harder to keep secrets in this modern technology age, because people could film things and everything. So instead of using the Dallas crew and anybody associated with Dallas, Leonard Katzman negotiated a contract with a commercial company that films television commercials. And they went not on this anywhere in the studio that we work, but they went downtown LA to a little commercial studio, and they built a replica of the shower in Pam and Bobby's bedroom in the thing. And I filmed an Irish Spring soap commercial all day long. An Irish Spring soap. We had a case of Irish Spring soap. We had a crew that didn't know who we were. They knew who I was, but they thought I was filming an Irish Spring soap commercial. Leonard directed it. The only other person was Wayne Farlow was there. And we worked all day just to get me turning around and saying good morning. And I did it the first take. We'd turn around and say good morning, and then I would beep, 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 take a little time because that'd be the freeze frame, right, for the end of the show. So I'd turn and say good morning. And you can have a good morning too if you wake up like the Duffy family. Irish Springs. And I would hold up the soap at the end, and then Leonard, because if we said print take will go, they would know it was a fake commercial. So we did all day, and Leonard would say, no, we can't quite see the Irish Spring. There's too much stuff in it. And it was waterlogged and soaked, and we finally got just that one thing to do the good morning scene for the thing. So that's how we kept it a secret. It was the only way.
Linda, do you remember how Sue Ellen was impacted by the year of the Dream Season reset? So she was drunk in that episode when Bobby died, and then she recovered, but then they had to go back a year, which meant that Sue Ellen had to be drunk again. Yeah, so
that was the recurring theme. Sue Ellen had to be drunk again.
You know, I know it's been a wave with her being sober, but initially I'm sure that you realized this was an opportunity to really kind of represent a struggle that a lot of people have, and I'm sure over the years you have heard from men and women who saw themselves in Sue Ellen and appreciated her fight.
Absolutely. And not only the women, but I mean everybody, many people I've talked to today had in their program, they were grateful to the show for portraying it like being so real and authentic. So.
Well, you did a fabulous job with that. You really did. When you came back into the TNT show, that you kind of Sue Ellen was sober and you were happy with that. It was time for a sober person. But there was a moment when it felt right for the writers to have her thrown off the wagon, to talk about that decision and that moment when in the reboot.
The reboot.
Yeah.
I remember when Larry and Patrick and we were so excited to work again, together again. And I said, one of the prerequisites, I said to the new team people, I said, she cannot drink, period. I'm done. I'm finished with that. And so they said, okay. I said, that's a deal breaker for me. And so they were very, very gracious. And then when Mr. Hagman passed, and there was one scene, and they said, this is when you would probably drink again. And I agreed. I said, okay, I'll do it. But I realized that was probably a time where you would, succumb to it and take a drink or two.
But she got her life back in control, and she
did, yeah. But
yeah.
It was a tough scene to play. I swear to you. That was hard. But I realized that people go through that.
That's right. That would have been the time. Priscilla, you were so good right from the onset, and I think we knew you, we loved you. We didn't know you as an actress, really, yet, and you came on as if you've been doing this forever. How did it come about, you being offered the role of Jenna?
Well, I was actually very surprised when I got the role. I never thought that I would get this role at all, never. I was very nervous, obviously, seeing Dallas, but these are pros, and I'm like putting myself in the middle, and I have to say, I was very nervous the first week, especially, but everyone on the staff really took me in, and so if I ever needed anything, or if they wanted to run lines, or if I wanted to run lines, I could run lines for them, and how come you didn't ask me that?
You scared me.
So I have to intercede. On the very first day she's out at Fort Worth, I said, hop in the car, let's go over to Joe T. Garcia's. And it was a Mexican place that was nearby. And we went over and I said, well, we gotta have margaritas. And we were just a little bit late coming back to the work that day. And maybe a little tipsy. And this was our way of welcoming Priscilla to the group.
It was so much fun, though. I can't even remember a bad time on, other than making sure I remembered my lines and going over and over again, because here I am with a post, like I said earlier. And it was actually easier than I thought it would be because of all of you. I mean, you really, received me so well, helped me out, and listen, I still think to this day, Dallas has been probably one of the most popular shows ever. Even when I go up now.
And I think that's largely thanks to people like you, which has been so impressive to see all of you this weekend from all over the country, from all over the world, that know more about the show than any of us do. Thanks for coming. Thanks for all the support. We did this for you in many ways over the years.
I saw a little trivia. IMDb is sometimes wrong, but were you offered one of the original Charlie's Angels? Did they want you to?
Yes.
Tell it. I never knew that. Tell us about that, if you would.
Yeah, I was offered the part of one of the girls in Charlie's Angels, but I saw the show just a couple of times, and I just couldn't see myself doing it. I think I would be typecast, and I decided not to do it. Do I regret it? No, I don't regret it at all. I just, I think whoever, I know who played the parts, but they did a great job. It just wasn't something, first of all, I was never out to be an actress. I was never, by luck, I got, the show that we were all on. But that wasn't something that I wanted to be as an actress.
You were meant to be a South Fork. South Fork was calling you.
Except Naked Gun came.
Oh my
That was amazing. I mean, working with Leslie Nielsen was amazing. He was such a great actor, but he was so, took me really by the hand and helped me. I was nervous on that too, because I'm not a comedian. But he said, you don't have to be a comedian, just say the lines like you mean it. And I did, and it was funny.
Oh my gosh, you were so great. What's the one line that people
I know where you're going.
Watch Naked Gun and you'll know the line of Leslie Nielsen that we're talking about. Love it. So when Patrick went back to Victoria, to Pam, they decided to pair Jenna and Ray up. And talk about that decision and how that was for you guys, knowing that you were going to be a couple on the show.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah. When Jenna and Ray were paired. Steve, why don't you start us off with this, when Jenna and Ray were paired?
I can't remember exactly all those details, but I just know it was a real pleasure to work with Priscilla, who was always open and ready to put the work in and very seldom complained about anything. And it was a pretty nice storyline that they developed for the two of us. And it was slow. It developed over a period of the whole season. And oddly, it ends us up away from the show. We're both let go and sent off to exile in Europe.
That's why I can't remember.
It's time to play with Charlene, who I absolutely adore and have adored forever. I want to talk about those early scenes when Ray and Lucy had a different kind of relationship than uncle and niece. The hayloft.
It was my first day of filming, and it was up in the hayloft, and I'm saying to him, call me your name. Do it. Call me Pam. And you know what? I was so young and naive, I really didn't even know that was like kinky stuff. I didn't know what I was saying. I did what Leslie Nielsen said, just say the lines and act like you mean it, because I had no idea what I was saying. But I was fortunate enough that with Lucy, I had a couple of storylines that were really incredible, that were ahead of their time. When Lucy was engaged to get married to Kit Mainwaring, and he had to come out of the closet
Yeah.
and said that he was a homosexual. We weren't allowed to use the word gay.
Wow.
And the writers handled that so beautifully. And JR, of course, knew this and said he was going to, ruin Kit Mainwaring. And I said, no, you're not. I stood up to JR. And then Patrick, at the end of the show, comes and Bobby comes and comforts me. And then someone just sent me a scene where Suellen is pregnant and drunk, falling down the stairs, and Lucy is high on pills. and she tumbles down the stairs and hits the bottom, and I go, oh, Suellen fell down. and it was, and then someone sent me the scene where Bobby said, "You got to stop this, Lucy." And then when Lucy was kidnapped and raped, and they got pregnant, so they dealt with rape, and then my pregnancy, and then getting an abortion. Those were topics back then that honestly were taboo, and they really didn't deal with a lot, and they didn't deal with. And during the filming of all those scenes, I was actually pregnant with my daughter Cherish. So I was having to go with Miss Ellie saying, I can't have this baby, I don't want this baby, I want an abortion, and while I was pregnant. So I literally had to just separate. I just kind of like didn't get too heavy into the scenes, but we handled some great topics, and had fun doing it.
Well, the show had a lot of actually serious topics. There was a really strong storyline with Mickey Trotter when Ray had to make that decision. And Steve, talk about the Mickey storyline, and Charlene as well. I'd like to hear from both of you. That was an Emmy-winning performance, I think, that back then when you had to make.
Yeah, well, you don't get scenes like that in a television series all that often.
You were amazing.
Yes. The actor was really quite a great guy. We lost him to AIDS in an era when AIDS was lethal.
Thanks.
And that came afterwards, but it was some really meaty material that was fun to get into. He really was a very fine actor, and you don't get those kind of scenes every day. It's there's days when you go to work and it's like a little piece of the action, but then you get some stuff that you really care about. And something that has some meaning. And that was one of those.
Yeah, it was really well done.
Yeah.
Well, yesterday I had the pleasure of being here with Patrick for a panel with Step by Step, and I talked with the Lampert daughters about the looks, the hairstyles of the 90s. Well, the 90s had nothing on the 80s. So when you all go back and you watch the hair and the makeup and the shoulder pads, talk about that era and some of the costumes that seemed so normal then, that now we're like, what? Yeah. Yeah, you start first, would you? Yeah.
I remember now, looking back, and think, how could I get through a doorway? I don't know how I did it. Anyway, but I loved all the 80s. I loved the look and the hair. And there was one scene where I think it was outside with J.O. and I had very long hair. But I remember telling the hairdresser, I said, when we're sitting outside on the patio, my hair kept going and sticking to the lip gloss. And I said, I kept tying it back, putting a clip or something. And so I spoke to the hairdresser and I said, let's cut this hair short. And they said, great, that's going to be fun. But I forgot to tell the producer.
Oh,
So I walked from the pool with long hair, walked into the house with short hair. That was an oops.
wow.
Yeah. So I was reprimanded. But then I what can you do? So anyway, we started winning all these hair contests.
Sure.
So that kind of softened the blow, and then they thought it was great. So.
Every time I think I know every story that you guys have to tell, I hear something new like that. I've never heard that. You wrote an amazing book. I love your book. If you haven't picked up this memoir, please do. Is it available at the table?
I don't think so.
Oh, I gotta bring some books. Yeah. So one of the stories in your book that I just love is a story with you and Larry when you were out of the country. You were headed to an appearance and your car broke down, and I'd like to hear you tell the rest of that story.
Okay. Larry and his wife, Mai, and I were sent out on little things to promote Dallas in various countries. So this trip, Larry and Mai and myself were in Bora Bora. Very nice. And that evening we were invited to come to a very special dinner party at some mansion on top of the hill. And so the hotel sent a driver, and he drove us up to the party. And Larry and I were, we all were in white, and Larry was in a white linen suit with a white Stetson, looking gorgeous. And Mrs. Hagman was in her white dress, I was in a white dress. Anyway, we went to this party, and as the driver was driving us back down to the hotel, it fell off into a ditch. And so the car was in the ditch. And we happened to be at a chicken ranch. And so we were in the thing, and we were all said, what's that smell? It's chicken ranch. So Mrs. Hagman said, okay, driver, you go back to the party, get help. I'm going to sit in the driver's seat. Larry and Linda, you get behind and push the car. So, Larry and I were, we take direction. So, Mrs. Hagman was right. She said, you guys get out of the car, push the car. Well, of course, we started pushing the car, and all of a sudden, chicken poop was scattered all over white, beautiful white outfits and the white Stetson. So this was not working. So Mrs. Hagman then said, who was obviously the director of this, she said, okay, I see a light on at a house up there. You two walk over there and get some help. I'll wait for the driver, blah, blah. So we go to this house. Dutifully, we climb the stairs. It's a little, country house.
Yeah.
On stilts.
Yeah.
And we knock on the door, and this woman opens the door and starts screaming. I mean, I guess anyway, she's screaming, and she goes like this, and she points to her television. Who is on that television? Larry and I doing some dreadful.
I wanted to acknowledge the folks that put together Southfork here. This looks so great. And Charlene, who put this together?
Yes, I don't know if is James Yarnell in the room. There he is. Multi-Emmy Award winner James Yarnell for set decorating was kind enough, gave us the backdrop. He put the South Fork arches. He recreated part of the South Fork living room. James Yarnell, so talented, and he did this all on his own. He built this all on his own. Thank you. Thank you for doing that for us and the band.
Yeah, it does make it extra special. And at least, now I want to ask, actually, when do you guys go to South Fork? And I know you've been there many, many, many times, even after the show ended. But what is the feeling when you first see that house?
I always remember the family that lived in it.
Yeah, the Duncan family.
The Duncan family, it's hard to imagine because it's become this big...
Well, the interesting thing is the vagaries of our profession. When we started filming there in 1978, I think it was something like that, the owners were in bankruptcy. And we could have any one of us could have bought that ranch. Literally.
Under $1 million.
For under $1 million. And they were looking for it. Because, you know, we can't spend, the company said, we can't spend $1 billion on the location. Well, in the course of 13 years, they probably spent $50 million renting it. Right. So, but going back, the poignant thing for me was when we went back for the reboot. Because it had been, what, 15, 20 years since the show was on the air. And Larry and Linda and I went to the ranch the first day of work as a threesome. We were there because we had a scene together. And I remember pulling in to the driveway, and there were film trucks and all of the kind of stuff. And it was very emotionally, you know, poignant but happy that here we were again, and there was life in this show that we didn't think would ever exist again. And we were at that ranch. And that was an interesting thing, and we got 3 more years out of it, so it was terrific to see the ranch. And every once in a while, well, this will be the shortest one, but when we used to watch the show when it was first on the air, the end credit or the opening credits, you know, it'd be starring Barbara Bel Geddes, Jim Davis, and then they would show the ranch, and my 2 children would go, and the ranch. And they were smart. The ranch was as much a star of the show as we all were. I mean, that South Fork, and is to this day, it's the second most visited home in America.
And you all are clapping.
Because you're number 1, honey. Number 1 most visited house in America.
Priscilla, you have such a wonderful job keeping Elvis's memory and Graceland alive. I wonder, do you think Mr. Presley would have been a fan of Dallas?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
You know, I do. You know, Graceland, you think of Graceland, and here, you know, it's popular, it's known world over, and then now Dallas. I think he would have been very captivated by the show. Storyline and everything.
I can see that. I can see him driving out of the ranch and putting on a cowboy hat, giving JR a run for his money for sure. What can I ask? What actually were his favorite episodes? Did he love this kind of show, the dramas?
No, he just took it all in. He would just take it all in. But we would, you know, we would go to the movies after that, and he went to the theater there in Memphis, the Memphian Theater. He would rent it every night to show all the recent movies that were actually, he got to see them first before they came out.
So cool.
Yeah, it was always nice to go out, you know, see these movies and just being with the guys and the only girl. And it wasn't bad.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Well, you know, this is a very special weekend. I don't have to tell you all the amazing faces that are out there. And if I could have, I would have had everybody join us in here, but we would have all fallen off the stage. But there were a couple kids out there that I was just so excited were part of this. And they very kindly offered to just come and spend a moment with us. And they should be right back there. So I want to just welcome Omri Katz, John Wesley, and Josh McKay. Joshua Harris, who played Little Christopher. I just had to have you guys here. So, I know you guys were really young, especially you. But is there one scene in particular that you remember with Patrick that you can share with us?
Oh yes. I think I actually had this story earlier today, but there was a scene, I think we were shooting out in like maybe Westlake or wherever we were shooting on a ranch in California, and we had a riding scene. It was one of the later years, and the horse took off on me. And, you know, I could ride. They trained us, and Patrick was always there on my side, like making sure I was comfortable. But this one day, I remember very vividly, the horse was going straight towards a tree, and of course, in your mind, that you're gonna hit the tree. The horse isn't gonna hit the tree. But in my mind, this is it. You know, I'm 10 years old probably. And didn't hit the tree, that was good, but I just remember Patrick being there, comforting me, and you know, it was oh my God, one of those. And we had a heart-to-heart scene, and it's one of those that's probably online, but it was one of those things that I found later on, searching for just various things that we share in the show. And I just remember that scene. It was like a heartfelt moment between Christopher and Bobby, and it was like that encapsulated my experience. Was like this whirlwind that Omri and I were a part of, but like the souls that are on the stage were so warm and welcoming to two kids that we couldn't have a better experience.
You did a great job.
You made it fantastic.
Mr. Katz, can you share a memory of Larry or Linda? What do you think?
So just in general, we were always welcomed. I seriously felt like I had two sets of parents, my biological and my stage parents, and growing up on the show, it was just always felt like family oriented. It was a great place to grow up. In terms of like scenes and stuff, there's a few different scenes, but I did learn how to tie a tie, thanks to Larry Hagman. Yep, there you go. There you go.
Too.
And still till today, I'm getting some feedback here. Maybe because I'm too close to the speaker.
Please take the stage.
I will. Center stage. But yeah, it was truly an incredible experience, and being here and walking down memory lane that was the main reason why I came here. I just wanted to see you folks again because it's been so long, and it's great.
Because you really were a big part of the show. We saw you guys grow up, and to see you guys just being so handsome and turning out so well, it's great to see that. Thank you for coming up here, so please stick around. I want to give the audience a chance to ask some questions in the time we have, so please raise your hand and shout out your question, please.
Yeah, just, you guys created TV magic, and just for so many years. And just maybe, Patrick, Linda, if you could just speak to really what was Camelot in the 80s at that time, when Leonard Katzman was running the show, just what was that like to live Camelot on TV with Lenny and Larry and the crew?
Well, when you look back, it was magic. Mr. Katzman pulled it all together. He knew every character. He had a big board, and he knew where every character was, what they were doing, how they were going to interact with the next character. He had it all mapped out, and he was really wonderful. He was the leader. And Larry was another leader. He was the prankster. He was the guy that, he was a part of it, basically. He was locked on this earth to create magic, create love and life. He just was the magic maker and the party guy. And he made everybody laugh, everybody feel comfortable, and there wasn't anybody that he didn't like or bring into his realm. He was wonderful. So just arriving at itself, working itself, working with these incredible people. You couldn't ask for a better job. And I was proud of it.
First of all, it's an honor to be here with every single one of you. My question probably Patrick will answer this. Why do we have Morgan Fairchild playing Jenna Wade? Not that I love Priscilla doing it, so that's awesome. But Morgan Fairchild played Jenna Wade first. How come she left the show?
Well, actually, Morgan Fairchild didn't play Jenna Wade first. We had a third Jenna Wade.
But there was only one Jenna Wade, let's be real.
They had to keep trying until they got it right.
There we go.
And that is the reason, and a lot of times, people will project reasons that don't exist, like, oh, they wanted to get rid of a character. A lot of times a character, because the season is over, gets another job. Sometimes there's all kinds of things, but the media, not just the media, I don't mean it that way, but the rumor mill is always grinding away. So you never know why somebody is being replaced. But we had two Jenna Wades first, and then we ended up with the Jenna Wade. A very brief thing is, I had a van, not made, but I made into like a little motorhomey thing, you know, but it was just a van, but it had a toilet. Anyway, so, and I wanted to just have a different kind of paint job, and not a big paint job, but just some lines drawn on everything. So we went to a detailer that did that kind of thing, and he made a beautiful van drawing stuff on the outside of the van, but inside the gas cap, he wrote, "I love Jenna Wade." And that's when you were on the show. So I knew who he was talking about. So every time I gas the car up, I go, yeah, me too.
Well, we've honored Mr. Hagman, and I did want to take a moment to honor Barbara, Bill Geddes, and Jim Davis, Howard Field, and Penny Kurzweil as well. It was fabulous. Love Cliff Barnes. And there's somebody here who is related to Jim Davis, so I just want her to stand up and just say who you are.
Hi, my name is Janet Lara. I'm from Scottsdale, Arizona, and Jim Davis was my uncle.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. Charlene, it seemed like you had a special relationship, at least on camera, with Barbara and Jim. Is there a story that you can share about those two amazing legends?
Well, we got to talk about this at length yesterday. When we were filming in Dallas, very often I would spend the night at Blanche and Jim's house, and then when they lived in Northridge and I lived in the Valley, I would stay with them a lot, and they were very, very kind to me. And Barbara used to just tell me all of her theater stories and being on Broadway and all of her wonderful stories, and they were just so amazing. And one time she was talking to me and her phone rang, and we were in a hotel room when we were filming Dallas before our show got big. I think we called it the Royal Roach Hotel. It was the Royal Coach. But I answered her phone in her room. I said, "Miss Bill Geddes, sweet." And the voice said, "May I speak to Barbara, please?" And I said, "Who may I say is calling?" And he said, "It's Tennessee." And I screamed. It was Tennessee Williams. Oh. And I screamed. And she said, "What's wrong? Who is it? Who is it?" I said, "It's God." And then he kept wanting to talk. Dallas hadn't aired yet. So he said, "Well, who is this little firecracker?" And I said, "Oh, I can't talk to him. I never did."
Oh, God, but just to have that moment.
Yeah.
6 degrees, 1 degree. Gosh, just like I said in Dallas, an hour goes by so horribly, cruelly fast. So in the time we have left, I just want to kind of get an idea of what you guys are up to now and what your interests are, what you do for fun, whatever you'd like to say. If you would just...
So, quick biography, no. After Dallas, I acted for a couple more years and then I have a fun story. Pursued baseball, so I played in college and then professionally for a little while. And Patrick's nephew, he's very humble about this. His nephew, does anyone know Barry Zito? Yeah. So he was my teammate in college. So he had come out to see a game to see Barry pitch, and I was the shortstop behind Barry. So we have this weird. That was the first time I'd seen you since the show, and then we saw each other again a few years down the line. So played baseball for a while, and then now I'm a producer of a production company since about 20 years now. Thank you. Bring back Dallas.
Okay, I just did a little film with people that I've known since the 80s. It was called Ladies of the 80s. Robin Fairchild, Lonnie Anderson, Don Mills, and myself. And it was about these crazy bunch of women from the 80s that had a series on in the 80s. And we got along great. We'd never worked together before. And it was great, great fun.
Was a cameo from Christopher Atkins as your character's husband.
Thank you.
Yeah, you Sue Ellen married Peter, I guess.
Married my sweetheart. Yes, my toy boy.
Good for him. Good for him. Mr. Duffy, tell us what you're up to now and what's keeping you busy.
Well, the lady of my life and I have a sourdough bread company. We both do what we normally do. You catch work where you can, and when the phone rings, you don't say hello, you say yes. Then you figure out what they want. So that comes along in bits and bobs. But basically, we started this company to make sourdough products, but what it is our template is to be a Newman's Own. So we give 100% of our profits to charity. That's what we're involved in. That's the passionate part about what I'm doing right now.
Thank you for doing that. It's awesome, Audrey. Ms. Presley.
Well, what am I doing now? All right. I have a show called An Evening with Priscilla, and I've had so many people, so many letters from people asking, what am I doing? Where am I? And so I decided, okay, I'll go on the road and do this Evening with Priscilla, which I've been doing for about 6-7 months now, and it's been really, really successful. I had so many people come in and come to the show and get their answers, their questions answered about my life, even before and after. So, yeah, that's what I'm going this week again. So it keeps me busy, and I'm enjoying it a lot, especially meeting the people and talking to them and answering their questions and getting to, see what's out there, amongst people, what their concerns are, what their fears are with what's happening now in the world. And we talk a lot about a lot of different things, so I'm enjoying that.
Fabulous. And I'm guessing PriscillaPresley.com for tickets and information?
I mean,
PriscillaPresley.com for more information?
yes, absolutely.
All right,
Yes.
great.
I was just, are you coming to the Tennessee area anytime soon?
Tennessee, what?
Area with your show?
No, I just came back.
How did I miss you?
I don't know. Where have you been?
Can you stay for another hour and we'll just go right into An Evening with Priscilla Presley? Can we just do it?
Can you come back and give a command performance?
Mr. Kanaly, what's keeping you busy these days?
I live a very idyllic life on a farm ranch in Ojai, California, where we have oranges and avocados. And I'm an amateur painter still. I've always been a painter. And I teach firearms training at a private high school called Thatcher that I've done as a volunteer for the past 23 years. We have a trap field, and I make sure that all the students are safe and learn to enjoy shooting sports. And I go hunting and fishing a lot. And I've been married now, this will be 49 years.
Wow.
One of the things about being on this series was that there was a lot of married couples, and we all had children. And well, you had a baby, quietly. But we had that in common, and that's all I have to say.
Do you see Miss Susan Howard at all? Do you see Donna? Your Donna?
Sadly, I have not talked to her in some time, so I heard she was invited to the show, and regretfully, she could not attend.
Next time. Charlene.
Well, as you know, thank you to my 7-year-old grandson, Wyatt. I now know everything anyone ever wants to know about dinosaurs.
I think it's a dynasty.
And Nintendo.
Wrong show.
And thank you to my 3-year-old grandson. I know everything about choo-choo trains. So, and when I'm not talking dinosaurs and choo-choo trains, I have a new series coming out on Netflix called Hot Kitchen. It's a comedy with, the cast is all Groundlings members. It's very funny. And then I have a movie coming out in August called God's Not Dead 5, if you're familiar with that franchise. And it's an inspirational film, and not just to be stuck in that genre. I finished that and went to a thriller where I play a woman that runs a drug rehabilitation center. It's called Final Recovery, and I'm a serial killer. So, so I went from God's Not Dead married to a serial killer.
I love it. I always knew it. I always suspected, actually. Omri.
So I did also, I left the business a long time ago. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, lived all over the world and country, traveled, had fun. Until I found myself in the cannabis space, and now I own my own cannabis company.
Dude.
Here in California, yes. You guys want to get high after this? I'll be outside. Smoking up, you know what I mean? And yeah, that's kind of we'll change it. We'll create a strain called Patrick Puffy. But yeah, that's basically consuming my life now. I have a beautiful partner that I love and adore very much, and that's kind of it.
That is the best way to end this. I am so excited that we had you come in here. Well, I feel high already. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I've been told I gotta plug myself too. My name is William Keck. I have a book coming out this summer called When You Step Upon a Star. And there's a lot of Dallas stories in there. Fun stuff that you'll enjoy. Thank you for spending time with us. This is great. I know you want to get a group picture of us all before we go back to the table, so let's group everybody. You want to get that?